when you are lost. So let's go with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so it's all about humility today and the humility trap. And I want to ask you, why do you think that so many coaches and healers or service providers hesitate to share their wins or their client results?
Because of humility. Okay,
Mhm.
so why do so many coaches and healers and service providers have such a hard time sharing the result? I feel like there's so many different layers to this, right? Sometimes we may be hiding under the thing of humility, like, but I feel like some of it might be because uh perhaps we're afraid of being judged by others. She's boasting, who does she think she is and stuff like that. And then there are times where like really like sincerely we feel like, like if I say it, it's going to, hurt somebody, or like it's not very humble. I literally have like an example about this. One of my
Mhm.
clients who's in my currently in my mastermind, when we first started working together, and she was putting together her event and stuff like that, and I could tell this is a human who already has like she's created a lot. She's really impacted a lot of lives already, like in her business. Her current business is already like 100K plus in her business. But she was having a hard time talking about all the things that she has already accomplished, right? But like a lot of the times, like it's when you do show, people want to know, like, what can you do for me? People want to know what have you already done, so that it can inspire them to step. But she wouldn't talk about it, she wouldn't own it, she wouldn't even own her credentials and stuff like that. And when I asked her why she was doing that, she said out of humility. And I was like, is that really true? Is that really true? Is it humility, or is it because you're afraid that people will judge you as not being humble? You know? So I
Mm.
feel like there's a lot of it in there. It's like, yes, we have our own insecurities. Yes, we feel like if I do it, people might see me as not humble. And I think there's also another third layer to this when we feel like, and this one actually I experienced myself, all of these things I have experienced myself, by the way. This one, it's like if I'm talking about myself, I'm feeding my ego. It's like if I'm talking about all that I have accomplished, then I'm feeding my ego, and my ego is going to grow this big, and I'm going to lose touch with my soul and stuff like that. That's one thing that I feel many, like step into, or many are afraid of. But for me, how I guess like, and again, I'm pretty sure I still go through all these things all the time, but like I process them. But like for the ego thing, right? One thing that I started doing is, first of all, accepting that I have an ego and that's okay. And can I utilize my ego for my purpose? That's the one thing. And then the second thing is I really started detaching my accomplishments from my, they mean nothing about me. Do you understand what I mean? It's like I started
Mm.
detaching my value from, like I started detaching my value from what I create or not create. It's very helpful, especially when you're in the space where you are not creating exactly what you want yet. It's like, so I started detaching more and more and more, and that has been really, really helpful. Yeah. So those are the things that I will say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. And you also believe that when someone refuses to share their success out of humility, they are already not being humble. Can you explain that paradox?
This is okay. This is something that, like, a lot of the times, this is something that I've come to, and I've heard one of my mentors said this to me one time, or like in general, one time, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so true. Anything we are afraid of, it's already happening, right? Like the concept of anything we are afraid of, it is already happening. And so, like, when you put that together with, if I'm afraid that like if I do this, then I'm not being humble already, you're not being humble, right? And I'll explain why. I'll explain why. And again, this is not about saying that humility or if I'm not humble, I'm a bad person, blah, blah. We all go through the same shit all the time, okay? So I thought about this, and this actually helped me a lot. I thought about this one time and realized that in reality, if we're trying to be so humble, it is a reflection of how we see the people around us. Do you understand what I mean? It's like if I believe that the person next to me is capable of even beyond what I have created, then I'm not so afraid that when I talk about what I've created, they're going to feel a certain way about it, right? For example, if you think about, for example, this is a good example. Like if you fly first class or if you fly business class, for example, everybody who's in business class with you, when you tell them about business class, nobody's thinking you're not being humble. Do you understand what I mean? Right?
Mm.
The only people, right? Do you understand? Like the only time we
Mm.
may think that, oh, if I talk about this, I'm not being humble, is because we believe that the people around us are not capable of what we have done or what we have accomplished. Or do you understand what I mean? And so if we believe that about the people we making that kind of assumption, how humble is that?
Mhm.
Do you
I love
understand?
I
Yeah.
love that example. Yes.
Yeah, like it clicked for me one day. I was like, and also it started clicking more and more for me when I
Mm.
started really seeing like people more in kind of like in their power. You understand, like if that's the way we want to say, like when like the more I see people, whether I know them or not know them, regardless of what their condition is, regardless of what their circumstances, the more I see myself actually. And it started happening because I started seeing myself more as I'm capable. Anything, like I'm capable, I can do this, right? Regardless, I can do this, I can do this. And then the more I thought about that of myself, the more I think about that, like of other people. And the more I think of that, of other people that way, the more I'm like, this is like, like you can do it. Like, whatever. Do you understand? So there's no
Mhm.
humility. There's no like arrogance about it. And don't get me wrong. We all go through these phases. You can be arrogant. You can be humble, blah, blah, blah. But when I started looking at it from that perspective, I was like, right. So number one, like I can detach myself from what I create. At the very least, I practice. It doesn't always work out, right? I practice detaching myself from what I accomplish or what I have created. And number two, I started really seeing other people as, like if I see them as capable, of course they're capable. Then I don't even need to worry about that. But on the flip side, they may be feeling a certain way about it. That's their own insecurity. But
Mhm.
even then, like I trust that it's their responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility to manage their own emotion. It's not my responsibility for them for managing their emotions. So that's what led me to really believe that like whenever we feel like I'm not going to do this because I want to be humble. I think at that moment, like I'm not going to share my testimonials because I want to be humble. I feel like we are already not being that humble, because we're
Mhm.
making and also that means that we're making our testimonials mean something about us. All right. And we're making our testimonials or we're making our work or we're making what we have accomplished mean something about us when it doesn't, you
Mhm.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes also some entrepreneurs would think that if I shine too brightly or if I say too much that I've got accomplished, I will make others feel small. So that leans into the things that you
Yes.
just said.
Yes, that's almost like same thing, like almost like I'm taking
Mhm.
responsibility for. Plus, we're making a lot of assumptions, right? Like we just assume they're going to feel small. Says who? Yeah, some people may feel small about it. Some people may, right? And in reality, here's what I've come to understand. In reality, if we believe that about other people, it's because we ourselves feel small when we see somebody else shining bright, right?
Mhm.
That's my take on that one.
Yeah, nice. It's a nice take because I also think sometimes there's a fine line that people would think entrepreneurs by sharing their accomplishments that they think I don't want to be like too arrogant. So how would you define arrogance from that energetic perspective and from the impact on them?
Okay, so look at this one. I think all of us at some point or another will be arrogant. I think all of us at some point or another have been. I know I've been arrogant many, many times in my on my journey, whether it's in business or not, right? Because it's the nature of a human, right? One or another. Like I'm not necessarily trying to run away from, oh, I don't want to be arrogant, but it's more so for me, my practice has been like what is in the driver's seat of my life today? Is my ego driving my life today, or is my soul, like from that perspective, driving my life today? Or whenever I'm making a decision, or whenever I'm reacting to something, right? Usually reaction is out of, something else. Something else than. So, but like like what's in the driver's seat for me is a question that I ask myself, especially when I'm able to observe myself, right? And I look at like what you can call like a humble mind or like arrogant mind. For me, I look at it very much from the perspective of energy, like energetical condition in your body, like in your system. Right? And so once I learned this, I was like, oh, of course, it makes sense, right? Obviously there is another part of this which is like what kind of information am I working with, like what kind of beliefs am I working with. But if you put that aside, right, if you put that aside, um when I'm talking about the energetic condition in your body, like I'm always talking about your energetic system and how like when you have too much energy up in your head and not enough energy in your gut, for example, it creates a ton, like a completely different kind of even personality, and for me, being arrogant is equal having way too much energy in the head, right? It's like your energy condition has flipped, right?
Mhm.
And that can happen, and it's happened to me so many times, and I have no doubt it'll happen to me again in the future. But like what I know about this is that like when you know how to manage your energy, when you know how to like, I even want to use the word regulate the energy condition in your body, then you might be able to manage, you will be able to manage yourself better. And even when you look at it from the perspective of like an entrepreneur, for example, or somebody who's online, and may have a lot of people. I saw this happening to me when I started having a lot of people, like even in my master classes. Like when I was having one person, two people, five people, it was okay. When I started having like hundreds of people, like eyes, like literally, like on me, right? So lots of people's eyes on you means that lots of people's energy, like lots of people are projecting the energy towards you. And so lots of people's projecting your energy towards you. If you don't know how to manage it, it can go to your head very quickly. Hence that expression, like flame has gone to her head, like all those
Yeah.
expression. It's not made up, right? Like energy can shoot way up in your head, and there's nothing good that happens there. Okay, yes, you can easily become arrogant. You can, think all these like illusional things. Um, but most of all, I feel like the saddest part is you lose touch with yourself. You lose
Mhm.
touch with yourself. And so I don't look at humility or arrogance as, okay, I'm a good person, so I'm humble, or I'm a bad person, so I'm arrogant, or arrogant, so I'm a bad person, or they're worse. They are arrogant, so they're a bad person. I look at it from the perspective of, oh, their energy is just off right now, right?
Mhm.
The energy is just upside down, right? Or even like myself, when I can watch myself, Dihessa, you being really arrogant by now, right? It's because I have, energy is way up in my head. And in that moment, at least if I can, because sometimes we completely lose it. We can't even see ourselves. But if I'm able to observe myself, which is why to me, like practicing energetically all the time is really, for me, purification. It's really a way of shedding a lot of these layers every day, because every day we have lots of things coming towards us. It's a way of really reconnecting with ourselves. And so when we have a way to do that, then even when lots of eyes are coming through you, still managing, you're still managing your energy, you're still uh, keeping yourself grounded, like down on earth, right? And then every now and then you'll fall and then you get back up again. And then especially if you're continuing, if this is something that is important to you and you're continuing to focus on regulating your own energy, yeah.
And what do you think, like, so when we try to be humble by not sharing our wins, or when we are arrogant, and but what if we're not sharing our wins and it's out of all the doubts and things that we have, so we are also out of alignment? What consequences does that have on our business, or energetically, or financially?
Wow, that's a lot of that's a big question. So if we like, I try not to make too many conclusions because there are people who run their business and I they're not necessarily sharing like, hey, I just did this, or like, but they're still running like quite successful businesses. And perhaps other people are talking about, like a lot of the times what I've seen is other people maybe talking about the wins for them, right? Simply because they're doing such a good job, right? Eventually, that's what you want, anyways, right? You may be talking about your wins and you may be showing people how, like, the results that people may get. But ultimately, the like a creme de la creme, I think that's what it said, is like other people then start boosting about your work, right? That works too, right? So like I always look at everything from like a context. So I wouldn't say that if you like you are doomed if you can't talk about
That would be bad.
if you can talk about your wins. But I know that, like, especially in the coaching industry, or like if you are a service provider of some sort, people want to see that, and beyond that as well. Uh, and I've even this week, I've experienced this where I've had two people join my programs this week and they told me because they have seen me grow. They've been observing me. And like sometimes like you don't need to say a word. Sometimes like how you show it is by just being it, and people can also observe it, right? So again, I'm going back to like I'm not going to say you are doomed if if you're not talking per se about your wins and everything you have accomplished, but it's definitely a plus when you are able to. Yeah.
And what, so you talked about that like a little bit, like managing your own energy. So is that, would you say to entrepreneurs, if they want to hold more energy without going it to their head, that's important to do the energy work to maintain their energy, to purify their energy?
Oh yeah, for me, like definitely for me, that's the one thing that has helped me. Do other people have other things? Probably, but for me, it has been so important. It's almost like we feed. Basically, how I look at this is like we have two parts to us. We have like our personality, which is really like our physical, which is really attached to our ego. And then we also have this other part of us, which is our soul part, right? And usually, like what that really means is that for me, what it means is like, can I nurture the soul part of who I am? As much as I nurture my body, as much as I feed my body food every day and like drink water every day, right? As much as I, like I work for money every day, as much as I do that, can I also feed this other part of who I am, which is my soul. And the nature of my soul is energy. The nature of my soul is not physical, right? And so the more I nurture that part of who I am, the soul part of who I am, the more that comes and is in the driver's seat, right? And so like even when I'm talking about energetic condition in the body, it's like if you have way too, like if your energy is flipped and you have too much energy up in your head, you are not feeling connected to your soul. I can tell you that much, right? And
Mm.
so for me, that's why it's important. So it helps me manage myself, like my physical self every day. It helps me connect my to my soul self every day. That's practice. That's really uh for me, it's a devotion, it's a practice every day. It's a choice that I make every day,
Mhm.
right? And when I feel disconnected from that part of who I am, it just doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel pretty. And even the people around me, they look like, what the hell is going on, you know? And definitely I see it impacting. Like when I'm not, I definitely see it impacting the results that I'm getting, right? And I also see how even my interactions with clients is different. Even my interaction with team members, like my team is different. Even like, you know, like everybody will like for you to just go back and connect. You know what I mean? It's like, well, even with my husband, whenever I'm literally completely off, right? And I'm snapping all over the place, he'll be like, when was the last time you know, took care of that? Perhaps you might want to do that now, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you can feel, I've been doing your work for a while now, and I think
Yeah.
you can feel that it's like you're getting in a flow, and it's really nice to experience that flow into your whole system, actually, in your health, in your business, in with the other people around you. So it's a really nice feeling when you are in that flow.
Isn't it? So, like, how does it feel to you? How does it feel like to you when you are in the flow?
It feels like, for me, like the first few times I did this, it felt like coming home. It was like, oh, I've missed this for such a long time. And that was so emotional for me because I always felt like there was something missing. And doing this work helped me like to find that part of me. And it feels so peaceful. It feels like I can be myself. I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. And I just can get into that flow and just like you said, sometimes we try to be someone else because we don't want other people feel small or not feel good, but then we are not really who we are, and there's like a resistance there. So it feels really nice if we don't have that resistance anymore because you feel in flow and you feel that connection.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I feel the same way too, and it's really just like for me, it's just been like a, like every day. It's like this little more of growth every day. This will like this little more of a flow every day, every day. So that's why I say like devotion or dedication. Like you
Mm.
really have to want to do this. Like this, it has to be something that like feels like it almost feels like a calling. I want to be connected to this part of me
Mhm.
as oh my, I just had a hiccup as much as possible, you know. And it's so really crazy to me that it really just comes down to your energy,
Mhm.
the energetic condition in the body. And I see it every day. I see it every day when I work with clients. I see
Mhm.
like when, you know, like the clients who come in and like for like within just a few weeks, I see the change within just a couple of weeks. And then for those who stay longer, like 3 months, 6 months, a year, so there are people who stay around longer than that even because of really the experiences that they're having.
Mhm.
It's pretty incredible. And for me, it really gives me power as well. Because when I have that, when my soul's energy feels alive, I can make like take bold action. You know, like when I take bold action, for sure, those are the things that give really unpredictable results, really, a lot of the times. I can stay centered when things feel like the sky is always like you use the expression, the sky is falling. It feels like the sky is falling. And I can still stay still. Only when I'm anchored within myself am I able to
Mhm.
do that. And when I'm not, like it's like very, very shaky, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you also say like it's dedication because sometimes we think we only have to do it once or twice
Yeah. Good
and then
luck with
it's
that.
okay.
Yes.
So, what would you say to the coach or the healer who's hiding behind that humility? What would you invite them to do instead?
Oh, that's a good question. What would I invite them to do instead? I guess like one thing that I would say is your work is not like it's like it's like the results that we get in our work is not our value. It's like it's so different. I feel like we get so attached to that. We get so attached to, okay, the results that I get is like that's not who we are. So the first thing will be like perhaps you might want to connect with I'm being a little bit esoteric here, but it's what it is. That's my jam. Yeah, like perhaps you want to, experience yourself, like aside of, like everything else. And just remember, right? And like I hate to say this because like when I say this, it seems like it's like I'm just talking in the air, right? Like when I say this, not like, oh, like no, just like experience. When I say experience, it's like for me, it's simple. It's like connect through energy. You can connect to yourself, right? It's not just like talk up in the air. Like we have this simple thing where like I always say these things as like what connects the physical to the spiritual, what connects to the visible to the invisible is energy, right? And so through energy you can connect with that. If we don't have that, if we don't have that activated, everything else is kind of like just talk, just illusion, just information. Like you may want to kind of investigate that if you don't feel it, right? And again, just like we said earlier, it's not like I'll do it once and then it's over. Like it has, I almost spoke French to you, no, pas en tout cas. I've been speaking a lot of French and English both lately, and so no. Anyways, no, but well, for me at least, it wasn't like I experienced it once and then it was over. No, far from it, right? For me, it was like the first time I experienced it, it was almost like, oh, I remember now. I
Mm.
remember something that I have forgotten for so long, right? I have forgotten for so long. But then from there on, it was a decision that I want to continue remembering this. It was literally a decision that I want to continue remembering this. And then it became a decision I want to continue. I want to start. It was like I want to start leveraging this because I then understood, oh my God, there's so much power in this. There's
Mm.
so much power in my soul, right? And so I want to leverage the power of my soul for creation, not just random creation, but creation that is important to my soul, right? A vision that is important to my soul. And then for that to happen, I have to make a choice every day. Oh, I get lazy sometimes, but
Oh,
regularly.
I think.
Yeah, regularly to go back to it, to go back to remembering, to go back to really feeding that part of who I am. And how I feed that part of who I am is through energy because that is the nature. Like I can't feed it, like a chicken. I can't, even though I don't eat chicken, or I do eat fish. I love fish. Like I can't feed it fish. I can't feed it what else do I love? I can't feed it cake. I love cake. I can't feed it ice cream. That's for my physical body.
Mhm.
That's for my physical body. But that part, what I can feed it is energy. And the more I feed it energy, the more it wakes up, really. Right? I'm always talking about how, like, even the example of our fourth chakra, how in here we have two energies in there. We have the energy of our soul, and then we have the energy of our emotions. Once I started experiencing that within myself, I realized like it's literally if we've like just like with everything, it's a matter of like who's in the driver's seat? Like is are my emotions in the driver's seat? Don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean don't feel your emotions or like shut down your emotion. That's not what I mean here. But it's like are your emotions in the driver's seat or is the energy of your soul in the driver's seat? It's like the story of the two wolves. It's like the one that you feed the most will be in the driver's seat, right? That's why for me it is really just it really is like kind of like a dedication, or I don't think that's the word. It's like devotion like a choice every
Mhm.
day to take care of that part of who I am. Yeah.
Mm, indeed. I like that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I already learned a lot again. So
Well, I'm so glad.